history. As the latest round of climate talks continue in South Africa, new research out today spells disaster for some of our nearest neighbours. They're some of the most idyllic, exotic countries in our region, and they're in trouble. The most comprehensive study to date from the CSIRO and Bureau of Meteorology has confirmed what Pacific nations have known for years. Their islands are being swallowed by the ocean. Fiji, Papua New Guinea, the Cook Islands, Samoa, Vanuatu and many more in the Pacific are facing increased extreme rainfall events, hotter days and warmer nights, and a steady rise in sea levels. For countries like Tuvalu, that's already all too evident. Where gardens once grew, high tides reduced the soil to salt. The ocean literally laps at their doorstep. It could be the first country to be wiped off the map.
It is the moral obligation of the international community to respond.
There are 10 million people in these island nations. They emit less than 1% of the world's greenhouse gas. So it's a cruel irony they'll be among the first victims of global warming. So as global leaders try to reach a deal in Durban, have we left it too late? And will these Pacific Islanders have to lose their homelands before the world will finally act together on climate change? Green Senator Christine Milne is in Durban for the climate talks. The science is in, it's official, the Pacific region is in dire straits. Is this going to actually be enough to get everyone over there to agree on what to do about climate change?
Unfortunately, it isn't enough. The countries of the Pacific have been telling the conferences here for years that they're already suffering from storm surge, from saltwater incursion into their freshwater lenses. They're really struggling with food security. I've met with quite a few of them this week and they're talking about the fact that there's been a state of emergency declared in Tuvalu, another in Kiribati because it hasn't rained for 7 months. But they've been saying this, saying who will take my people, saying if 6 countries in the world were going to disappear and we didn't know which ones they were, perhaps people might be a bit more motivated to get an agreement.
Christine, Australia's done its bit. We've introduced a carbon tax. Isn't the real problem now the US, the Indias, the Chinas? If they don't take political steps, nothing significant will change.
Well, certainly the US is a major problem here. They've actually gone backwards. They're now saying that they don't even see the 2 degrees as a cap. They're saying that should only be a guide. And China, quite rightly, is saying if the US, as a developed country who's been a major contributor, won't take action, then why would we sign on to a legally binding treaty at this time?
So with all the financial and political stress in the world, is it just the case that climate's been thrown into the too hard basket?
Well, certainly it does seem to be in the too hard basket, but, you know, we're talking here about putting the bankers and the finances, if you like, ahead of the survival of people and the planet, effectively, because if you're going to give up on 2 degrees, you're talking about crossing tipping points where we're heading into 3, 4 degrees and massive destruction, conflict and movement of people. So if we think we've got a problem now, that is nothing compared with what's coming if you just put into your head what might happen to Bangladesh, for example.
Well, that's right, Christine. I mean, our government already struggles to deal with the political, asylum seekers. Surely it's enough of a motivation for them to put pressure on the big polluters if they know that very soon we're going to have a whole lot of people wanting to call Australia home.
Exactly, and I think that issue is really not something that they're actually having at the front of their minds, but it should be, because the stories from the Pacific are telling them people are already having to make moves inside their own countries. Australia already has quite a substantial population from various Pacific Island nations, but that is nothing compared with the millions that will be on the move as a result of food security. So you are really in a situation where we've got to deal with climate change as the major issue.
And Christine, while you're there in South Africa working very, very hard, I'm not sure you've got the 100% support of your leader. This is what Bob Brown had to say about the press conference that you've got scheduled for tomorrow morning.
Christine Milne and the Global Greens will be holding a press conference tomorrow on the progress in Durban. That's at 4 a.m. for those of you who are sitting up to get the vital news. Please let me know about... I'll be watching.
Will he be watching?
Well, I'll be hoping that Bob Brown gets up to watch, but it's a first for us here for the Greens to get together and have a press conference. There are Green ministers in several European governments, so it's a good opportunity, but 4 o'clock's a big ask.
Well, maybe get him on the blower at about 5 to 4, just make sure he's out of bed. Senator, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
These talk fests always seem to fail. Like Mexico failed, Copenhagen failed. I think the problem is everyone's allowed to leave. They should just get them there, lock the doors and go, look, we all know that this is a problem. No one goes home until we have an agreement.
Until they fall in love with each other, like Stockholm Syndrome.
Hey, now, can I just go back to Bob Brown for a second? He was on fire today. Check him out here, banging out a little bit of magic on the National Dental Scheme.
We need to drill a little into that and find out where the decay is in their decision-making process.
Yeah, he's at Melbourne Comedy Festival next year.
Yeah, that's from his one-man show, An Evening with Bob Brown.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.